Polls open to fill seats in the Oklahoma Senate and House. Oklahomans scramble to fill a budget hole, and a shooting spree shakes Northern California. This is OU Nightly.
The polls opened today for a special elections to fill 2 vacant seats in the Oklahoma Senate and 1 in the House. The seats had been held by Republicans, but the elections come at a time of voter frustration over years of budget shortfalls. Democrats have already won 3 GOP-held seats in special elections this year.
Facing off in the Senate District 45 is Paul Rosino and Stephen Vincent. For Senate District 37, it is Brian O'Hara and Allison Eichley Freeman. In House District 77, Ross Ford and Chris Van Lanningham are up against one another. Polls will stay open until 7 tonight.
And one OU student announces his plans to run for a seat on Norman City Council. Dion Osborne, a political communications senior, isn't letting age stop him from running for a Ward 2 seat. His platform will focus on minority groups, removing discrimination, and a focus on city's environmental concerns. Osborne's decision to run for the position came shortly after becoming an activist in the debate over the renaming of DeBar Avenue, the street in Norman named after former OU professor and KKK leader.
I actually didn't decide until last week because some friends who had pushed me to go for it. And it was a combination of realizing that with the DeBar issue, we really had to push for more immediate action. And if we hadn't done what we did, if we hadn't showed up to the city council meetings, if we hadn't had meetings with the mayor and the council members, I don't believe we'd be where we are right now.
And the Ward 2 seat is currently occupied by Alicia Carhala, whose term will end July 3rd.
A series of bills were introduced today in the Oklahoma House and Senate budget committees that will help plug a budget hole. The bills would impose cuts of about 2.5% to most state agencies. This comes after the expected revenue from an unconstitutional cigarette tax was lost. The rest of the $215 million in lost revenue would be filled by sources of one-time money, including savings accounts. During today's hearings, residents of a local assisted living center urged lawmakers to protect funding for the state's elderly and disabled.
And Cal Day joins us in the news center with information on the series of shootings that occurred in Northern California. Cal, what can you tell us?
Well, thanks, Reagan. 4 people are dead and multiple are injured in Northern California after a series of shootings. Authorities say the gunman opened fire on random victims at 7 different locations, including an elementary school, before being shot and killed by sheriff's deputies. Local hospitals are treating several people, including 3 children. Police say the gunfire began after a domestic violence dispute on Tuesday morning. The name of the shooter has not been released. Attorney General Jeff Sessions spent more than 5 hours testifying before the House Judiciary Committee on Tuesday. Sessions told committee members that he has never lied under oath regarding the Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. Sessions also maintained he will not be politically influenced in his role as the country's highest criminal investigator.
We will make only decisions we believe are right and just, and we're not going to use the department to unlawfully advance a political agenda.
Sessions also says the Justice Department will consider investigating Hillary Clinton, but would not say if he would recuse himself from the matter, contradicting previous statements. And the Attorney General also told the committee he has no reason to doubt the accusation against Roy Moore, the judge running to fill Sessions' vacant Senate seat in Alabama. Moore continues to face backlash from several lawmakers after multiple sexual assault accusations, and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told reporters on Tuesday that Moore was unfit to serve.
Roy Moore should step aside. The women who've come forward are entirely credible. He's obviously not fit to be in the United States Senate.
House Speaker Paul Ryan also says the allegation against Moore are credible and called on him to step aside. And Reagan, as the Roy Moore saga continues to unfold, Paul Ryan announced today the House will now require anti-sexual assault and harassment discrimination training for all members and staff.
Thank you, Cal. Well, 44 state attorneys general, including Oklahoma's Mike Hunter, are asking Congress to repeal a law that aims to prevent opioid addiction and overdose deaths. They claim the Ensuring Patient Access and Effective Drug Enforcement Act are a step backward. The law requires the DEA to show cause before it denies, revokes, or suspends a registration for a Controlled Substance Act violation. Hunter said the law enforcement believes that the law limits their ability to stop the flow of drugs. Well, it's been a foggy one this morning. I mean, man, walked outside this morning, couldn't see, had to wipe off the windshield on my truck.
I know, on the drive it was a little foggy, but now it turned out to be a beautiful
Yes, it
fall
did.
day.
Nice
Andrew,
fall
what can you
day.
tell us?
That's right, guys. You know, if we look at our satellite and radar, we can actually see those fog bands that showed up this morning that stuck around. The dew points are high and the temperature, they're pretty equal, so that's why we were seeing that. And you can even see some of that little drizzle that we had move through this morning. Overall, though, it wasn't really enough to pick up any precipitation in Norman, but if you went outside, you might have seen the rain on your car. Most of the rain was out to our east and up into Arkansas and Missouri. Later in the show, though, I'll let you know if we're going to see any more rain, if we're going to have another foggy morning tomorrow, and what kind of fronts will we see coming through this week.
Thank you, Andrew. Well, still to come on OU Nightly, the Norman Fire Department has a new whip.
Plus, Amazon's Echo Look can now be your personal stylist. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Game days can be hazardous for emergency vehicles when they have a crimson sea to navigate through. The Norman Fire Department has expanded its response efforts in a unique way. Nightly Savannah Hurst has more.
The Norman Fire Department went from 4 wheels to 2 last week by adding a volunteer fire bike team.
With the bikes, we'll be able to be on location and ride through the crowd a lot easier and faster than our guys could walk through them and get to the patient quicker.
The fire bike team deployed for the first time last week during the TCU home game.
That's the first time the bike's been put out in the field. It went great. I think within the first 5 minutes of us going active, we had our first medical call, and we were able to get there before MSTAT or the ambulance.
This may look like a regular bike, but it's not. There's a bag in the back that has everything a fireman or a paramedic would need to save a life.
The bikers go out in teams of 2, each equipped with a bag of complimentary gear.
This one has like a little trauma pack. It's got gauze, splints, pressure bandages.
The team will be used during games, festivals, and other heavy populated events in Norman. Captain KARRICK says that the fire bike team will also help other cities' big events like the Oklahoma City Marathon. Savannah Hurst, OU Nightly.
And now Kendall Thorn joins us in Tech Report with more on a self-driving bus's bumpy road. Kendall?
There are a few bumps in the road on a journey to a self-driving utopia. A driverless bus in Las Vegas had its maiden voyage on Friday, but it was interrupted by a semi-truck. The city of Las Vegas said in a statement that if the truck had the same sensing equipment the shuttle has, the accident would have been avoided. Fortunately, no one was hurt. The city plans to continue its 12-month pilot program, partnering with AAA and Keolis, a French transportation management company. And China plans to give the U.S. a run for its money in artificial intelligence. China wants to be the world leader in AI, and they have the ability to do so, since the government has pledged billions of dollars to the project. They plan to be a frontrunner in the industry by 2030. And speaking of AI, it could soon function as your personal stylist. Amazon's Echo Look has a feature called Style Check, which can take pictures of your outfits and tell you which is better. The device considers factors like color, styling, seasons, and current trends. Other companies such as Vera Bradley are using VR technology to help consumers visualize bedding on an actual bed. The Echo Look retails for $200. So do you guys think this feature would be useful when getting ready for the show, for example?
Oh, good idea.
I mean, I don't know about me.
I think I might.
It's
like
not really
it.
not my alley, but
It's a pretty cool futuristic activity.
Right.
So, yeah.
it's
I like
not
it.
too
Instead
shabby.
of texting friends and saying, hey, does this look good? You just have a little thing that tells you.
It's creative. I'll give it that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kendall.
Thanks.
Oklahoma City police arrested Christopher Lynn last night in connection with the fatal stabbing of a man in northeast Oklahoma City. The victim was found on Sunday morning by a woman delivering newspapers. Police say the man was discovered lying on the porch of a home. He'd been stabbed repeatedly and covered in blood. He was transported to the hospital where he later was pronounced dead. The name of the victim has not yet been released.
Well, Tulsa police arrested 2 people in the theft of nearly a dozen AR-15 rifles. Anthony Martinez and Shannon Fryman were arrested after driving a stolen SUV through 3 gun stores. They smashed into the buildings to gain entry and then loaded up rifles. Martinez and Fryman were booked on complaints of second-degree burglary, possession of stolen vehicle, larceny of an automobile, and more.
Tulsa Judge William Mussman sentenced 2 Owasso parents to 130 years in prison for child neglect. Aislinn Miller and Kevin Fowler allowed their 4 children to live in filthy conditions within their home. A Department of Human Service investigator testified that Miller and Fowler's residence was filled with cat feces and maggots. The parents' 9-month-old twin girls each weighed just 8 pounds when they were discovered. An Owasso police officer said it was the worst case of child abuse he had seen.
And still ahead on OU Nightly, Monday Night Football got ugly in a hurry.
Plus, Andrew is here with the temps for the rest of the week.
We're going to have a cold front move through tomorrow to cool us down, but we'll see some warmer temperatures by the start of this weekend. Welcome back. After a pretty foggy, cloudy morning, you can see some clouds have really started to break up out there. Here's Bazell Memorial Library, and there you got it. Sun's starting to peek out, but the clouds are still lingering a tad. Right now in Norman, we are seeing our temperatures around 72 degrees, winds out of the south, 19 miles per hour. That's what's been warming us up from what we have seen lately, and that's kind of the trend that we're going to be seeing. Current temperatures around the state right now, mostly in the 70s. If you cut across this middle portion of the state, a little bit cooler up to our northeast. They had more rain there, so they got to cool down quite a bit more. As far as dew points are concerned, that's why we had the fog in the morning. 60s really for much of the southern central part of the state, and that's why we had the fog moving through. Now, over the next couple days, we're going to see some more patterns come through, and it's all going to be about fronts. We've got this front right here, this cold front that's going to be pushing through on Wednesday morning, bringing us a chance for some showers, some more drizzle, kind of like what we saw this morning. It's not going to be much accumulation, but we'll see some rain from that, and some possibly fog as well. Our next cold front will be moving through on Friday evening, but before it comes through, we're going to see quite the warm up. We're going to almost hit 80 degrees by the time we get to Friday. Now, that's going to move through and cool us off for the weekend. Tonight, however, it'll be pretty warm, pretty muggy. 65 degrees at 8, only cooling off to 64 by midnight because the clouds will be sticking around quite a bit, and the clouds really do insulate us and keep us warm. That's why at 8 a.m., 63 degrees with that chance of rain, and then we'll be cooling off just a hair before we have that cold front come through. And our high is 63 tomorrow, which is right around the average for this time of year. But as you just saw in what I just showed you, that's going to happen a lot earlier in the day because of when that front's fixing on coming through tomorrow. Now tomorrow, we can expect some morning drizzle, early fog just like we saw today. Come Thursday, after that front comes through, the clouds are going to break up. Comfortable day. Overall, it'll be very nice. It'll be cooling down quite a bit. Now, the winds will shift to be back out of the south come Friday, and that's going to warm us up back into the 70s like we saw today, but a little bit warmer. Another front will come through, though, on Friday into Saturday, and that's going to drop us off right into the lower 60s where we've kind of been sitting. So it's going to be what a fall start to your week next week. And it's the same thing I've been saying. Fronts everywhere.
I feel
they
like
come through,
it's the
they
same
cool us
story
down.
every week. It's like cold and warm and cold. And
yeah, we're really starting to get to that time of year.
70-degree weather and then 60s.
And then 80s.
And then 80s. They come out. Those southerly winds really do help warm us up.
Yeah.
I did not mind a nice 65, 70-degree day.
You know, we'll have
it's
break
beautiful.
next week, and so
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Great week to get outside. Great weekend.
Well, thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely.
Hey, Collin, I hear there are some pretty big games on the hardwood tonight.
Reagan, I got to tell you, there are some monster matchups in college basketball that are definitely must-see TV, but we also have a beef alert in the NBA. What are these two stars bickering about? Stick around so I can tell you all about it. Sports is straight ahead. Welcome back. After one rowdy game, Sooner fans now look forward to one of the least exciting games of the season, Kansas. However, while Sooner fans get to rest their voices and avoid a trip to Lawrence, the Sooners know they cannot overlook this Jayhawk squad. Their defensive line is underrated, and they know a thing or two about upsetting Big 12 headliners at home.
It looks like to me, and I'm not sitting there, but they've had some stretches where they've played really well on both sides of the ball, and it looks like they're just trying to piece it together. And but we understand the challenge that we're going to have, playing on their senior night, and so it's going to be another challenge. It is every single week in the Big 12.
Tonight might bring Sooner fans more excitement than this weekend's game. After a big Sooner win and 2 members of the top 4 losing, all signs point to a top 4 ranking for Oklahoma. Last week, it was number 1 Georgia, who lost to Auburn, then Bama, who struggled against Mississippi State, then Notre Dame at 3, who was destroyed by Miami, and at 4, Clemson. Oklahoma was just on the outside, with TCU following them at 6. Now, TCU will obviously drop after losing to OU. Then Notre Dame and Georgia will both drop as well, as they both suffered losses. Now, before you watch those rankings, watch the full re-air of Sooner Sports Pad. After today's newscast, DeWaylen Barnes and Mike Longo join the pad to talk OU wrestling and more. Stick around for it. Monday Night Football was just a straight blowout. I'm sorry, there's just no other way to put it. Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers dominated the Miami Dolphins, and it was not even close. Newton had 349 total yards, and a 3-touchdown third quarter alone helped the Panthers pull away for a 45-21 win. College hoops has some big-time matchups tonight in the Champions Classic. The first game just features the 2 top teams in the country. Number 2 Michigan State and number 1 Duke take each other on. Then number 4 Kansas and number 7 Kentucky are featured in Game 2. This has all the feel of March Madness in November. I gotta love it. There's one thing I love more than sports. It might be a good old-fashioned pointless argument. After LeBron James said the Knicks should have drafted Mavs rookie Dennis "the Menace" Smith Jr., yes, I'm coining that nickname, instead of Frank Ntilikina, and as KANTER fired back defending his team, that resulted in the two getting in a scuffle and then a very petty and quite pointless indirect back and forth.
Coming to my house, playing that water bottle flip game again. You know what I mean? I don't care who you are, king, what do you call yourself, king, queen, princess, whatever you are. You know what? We're going to fight. And nobody out there going to punk us.
Well, I'm the king, my wife is the queen, and my daughter is the princess, so we got all 3 covered.
To some barbecue sauce for all that beef? Goodness, gentlemen, calm down. Well, now we move on from the top beef in sports to the top plays. You know what time it is. It's Top Play Tuesday. We break down the top plays in sports. This one comes from Maurice Harris of the Redskins. He's about to make a pretty nice grab here. Look at Kirk Cousins drop back on the play action. Fire to his right, and Harris snags it. That thing stuck to his hand like a little kid's terrible painting to a refrigerator. Let me tell you something. We're going to have to call him the human electrical cord because he's got some extension to him. Gotta love it. The kid's fresh off of the practice squad, people. He's out there making plays early in his career. Love it when the young man comes out and shows out.
What was that first line again?
That thing stuck to his hand like a little kid's terrible piece of artwork to a refrigerator.
Yeah,
Boost the confidence early.
Why I love Top Play Tuesday.
Boost the confidence early.
That was about as bad as the onside kick in that game at the very end.
That was pretty rough.
Shout out C-Nunn. All right, thank you, Collin.
Yeah,
no
thank you, Collin.
Still coming on United League, Garth Brooks doesn't just write songs. Stay with us.
I'm Shiloh Southers at the update desk. More on the shooting that took place earlier in Tehama County, California. The gunman attacked at least 7 different locations, including Rancho Tehama Elementary School. More than 100 officers responded to the multiple locations, including the FBI, Department of Justice, and the California Highway Patrol. So far, 5 are dead, including the gunman, and 10 have been hospitalized, some of them children. Authorities recovered a semi-automatic rifle along with 2 handguns. A neighbor identified the shooter only as Kevin. Authorities have not commented on the man's identity. Neighbors told reporters the gunman had shot off hundreds of rounds in the past few days and said he stole a pickup truck. That's all for you. Now, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Shiloh. Well, Oklahoma native Garth Brooks is giving fans an inside look at the first 5 years of his music career. Brooks recently won the CMA Entertainer of the Year award, but says he wanted to take readers back to the days when he didn't sell out huge stadiums and arenas in a matter of seconds. The book covers the period spanning 1989 to 1993, with each chapter highlighting a different song. Brooks says one reason he wrote the book was to acknowledge all of the people who helped him along the way.
I'm not really a reader, but anything written by Garth Brooks,
go get it.
I'm going to read it.
I know, he's very popular.
He's a legend in country music.
I love it.
All right, well, Andrew's back with not necessarily a weather fact, but something that's going to be used for weather.
Right, that's right. NOAA is launching a satellite tomorrow morning, and it's their new satellite. It's the JPSS-1. It's going to be launched very early tomorrow morning, talking about 4 in the morning Eastern time. And this satellite's going to be great. It's going to give us a lot of in-depth, very high-quality information about what we're going to be seeing with weather, the oceans, our climate, and all that. And one of the really nice things about it is that it's a polar satellite, and those collect information from really every corner of the globe. So we'll be able to get all the data we need.
Well, thank you.
Interesting. Thank you.
And thanks for watching OU Nightly, brought to you by Gaylord College at the University of Oklahoma.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night live at 4:30.
Have a great evening.
Good night.